The movie starts with showing Soo Yeonjun, a kind, quiet, and beautiful girl from a small village. Her family is poor, and despite facing economic hardships, Yeonjun's parents have saved enough money for her to attend a top high school in the city. Yeonjun has just graduated from middle school, and this year, she will start her studies at her dream high school. On her first day, Yeonjun feels out of place. She looks simple and unsure compared to the other students. As she walks through the school gates, a young man on a motorcycle speed by, and the wheels spray a puddle of water all over her. The young man is Chung Jung, a popular student from a wealthy family and an idol at the school. Frustrated, Yeonjun approaches Chung Jung to confront him. Just as she's about to scold him, a baseball flies toward her, but Chung Jung catches it with one hand. Instead of apologizing for getting her wet, Chung Jung tells Yeonjun to be more careful, and then walks away. After this encounter, Yeonjun feels annoyed with Chung Jung. To make things worse, they end up in the same class, and Yeonjun's seat is right in front of his. At school, Yeonjun becomes close friends with Mo Yuhua, a girl from a similar humble background. As a result, Yuhua helps Yeonjun adjust to the new school environment. Later, during a math test, Yeonjun struggles and scores only 50, while Chung Jung scores a perfect 100. Apparently, math is difficult for Yeonjun, and she finds it hard to keep up with the lessons. One day, Yeonjun decides to go to the restroom and secretly brings a book along. Chung Jung, sitting behind her, suspects she's planning to cheat and grabs the book from her. Unexpectedly, he throws it in the air, and as Yeonjun tries to catch it, a pad hidden in the book falls out. Embarrassed with the situation, Yeonjun rushes out of the classroom. One of the boys in class picks up the pad and examines it, making Yeonjun feel even more humiliated. Seeing this, Chung Jung feels guilty for causing her embarrassment. Later, Chung Jung tries to get Yeonjun's attention during class, calling her name and poking her back with a book, but she ignores him. Frustrated, Chung Jung tosses the book onto her desk. Annoyed, Yeonjun pulls her chair back, accidentally hitting Chung Jung's leg, causing him to wince in pain. When she opens the book he threw, she realizes that he has answered all the math problems inside, with each step carefully explained. After school, Yeonjun stood on the rooftop, deep in thought. Suddenly, Chung Jung appeared, playfully tugging on her hair to tease her. Annoyed by his behavior, Yeonjun turned to leave, but Chung Jung held her back and offered to help her with math to make up for his actions. At first, Yeonjun refused, but she recalled how her math teacher had urged her to improve her grades, knowing how hard she had worked to get into this school. After considering it, Yeonjun agreed to let Chung Jung tutor her. From then on, they met after school on the rooftop to study math together. Although Chung Jung's playful attitude often annoyed her, Yeonjun found learning with him surprisingly enjoyable. Over time, Yeonjun's math skills improved, and she was thrilled when she scored an 85 on her next test. Seeing her joy, Chung Jung felt proud, and their friendship grew closer. One day, Yeonjun had to leave school for a while to return to her village for an urgent family matter. In her absence, Chung Jung seemed lost, often daydreaming while looking at her empty seat. At one moment, he even fell asleep in class with his lack of motivation apparent. Shortly after, Chung Jung suddenly woke up to find a student sitting in front of him, and he felt annoyed at the thought of someone taking Yeonjun's seat. To his relief, it was Yuhua, Yeonjun's best friend, who informed him that Yeonjun had just returned from her village and was now resting in her dorm. Upon hearing this, Chung Jung immediately rushed to Yeonjun's dormitory, knocking loudly on her door. When Yeonjun finally opened it, Chung Jung was shocked to see her sad face and the black band on her left arm, a symbol of mourning. Chung Jung realized, without words, that Yeonjun's father had passed away. Time passed, and soon it was the final term of their third year. During the graduation party, Chung Jung kept his eyes on Yeonjun, who was sitting with Yuhua. At one point, he finally gathered the courage to approach her and asked her to dance. After their dance, Chung Jung led her to a quiet spot behind the school building, where he confessed his feelings. To his surprise, Yeonjun moved closer and kissed him. Chung Jung took this as a sign that Yeonjun accepted his love. But in reality, the kiss was her way of saying goodbye. She walked away, tears in her eyes, leaving him alone. In her heart, she bid farewell, feeling that her family's financial struggles and background made it impossible for them to be together. A year later, Yeonjun was now a university student, working part-time as a librarian to help pay her tuition. While working at the library, she met Shinju and a kind senior who also worked there. Gradually, they grew close from spending time together, and their friendship blossomed into a special relationship. One day, Chung Jung and his younger sister visited Yeonjun's campus. After such a long time apart, their reunion felt awkward. As Yeonjun and Chung Jung spoke, Juin introduced himself to Chung Jung as Yeonjun's boyfriend. Chung Jung, surprised, shook his hand and responded by introducing himself as Yeonjun's boyfriend from high school. Embarrassed, Yeonjun quickly corrected him, explaining they had only been close friends in high school. Chung Jung didn't want to waste any time, so he invited Yeonjun and Juin to explore the city together. They soon visited a temple where they wrote their wishes on small pieces of paper. When Yeonjun tried to read Chung Jung's wish, he quickly hid it from her. Later, Juin went with Chung Jung's sister to buy some drinks. As Juin returned, he saw Yeonjun and Chung Jung having an intense conversation beside a car. Suddenly, Chung Jung leaned in and kissed Yeonjun, catching her by surprise. Juin witnessed this from a distance, and Chung Jung's sister noticed his disappointment, trying to cheer him up. After this incident, the relationship between Yunjin and Ju and became strained. They stopped talking to each other, even when they worked together in the library. Frustrated, Yunjin confronted Chung Jung, venting her anger. Chung Jung explained that he too had struggled after high school because he couldn't find her. He confessed that when Yunjin kissed him at their farewell party, he thought it meant they would stay together, but she disappeared and became unreachable. Eventually, Chung Jung stopped contacting Yunjin. Juin also faded from her life after graduating and starting a new job. As Yunjin neared her own graduation, she stopped working part-time and returned to her village at her mother's request. At that moment, her mother asked for Yunjin's blessing to remarry, and Yunjin agreed, happy to see her mother finding a new beginning. Back in her village, Yunjin unexpectedly ran into Chung Jung, who was sitting near her house. Chung Jung explained that he was there with his mother, who was overseeing business matters. It turned out his family had bought a factory in the area. Eventually, they spent a peaceful evening together, making rabbit lanterns. Before parting, Chung Jung invited Yunjin to move to Beijing with him after her graduation, and Yunjin nodded in agreement. As graduation approached, Yunjin started sending out job applications to companies in Beijing, hoping to build a life with Chung Jung. But despite her efforts, she received no offers. Finally, she got a job opportunity in Shanghai and accepted it. A few days later, Chung Jung excitedly told her he had found a job opening in Beijing for her, but Yunjin explained that she had already signed a contract with the company in Shanghai. Chung Jung was upset, feeling that Yunjin had broken her promise. To make it up to Chung Jung, Yunjin decided to visit him in Beijing by train. While on her way, Chung Jung called, saying he was headed to Shanghai to see her. They then agreed to meet halfway, and Yunjin got off at the next train station to wait for him. Finally, they reunited at the station and embraced, happy to be together again. When they arrived in Beijing, Chung Jung took Yunjin shopping for shoes and a party dress, as they would be attending his sister's engagement party that evening. At the party, Yunjin was shocked to discover that Chung Jung's sister's fiancé was Juin, her close friend from college. Reluctantly, Yunjin congratulated Juin and kindly encouraged him to take good care of his future wife. Days passed, and Yunjin returned to her job, settling into her new routine. One day, her stepfather visited her office with urgent news. Her mother was seriously ill with cervical cancer. To cover the medical expenses, her stepfather had secretly taken money from Chung Jung's family's company, where he worked. In the end, he pleaded with Yunjin to help him return the stolen money. After her stepfather returned home, Yunjin began calling her friends, hoping to borrow money. Unfortunately, no one could help her. Desperate, she reached out to Juin, who agreed to lend her the money. Chung Jung, who soon found out about her situation, came to her apartment with money to help her as well. However, Yunjin declined his offer, explaining that Ju had already agreed to lend her the funds. Hearing this, Chung Jung was hurt and angry, questioning why she trusted someone else over him. Frustrated, he stormed out of her apartment and went straight to Juin's house. Once there, Chung Jung, filled with emotion, threw the money he'd brought for Yunjin in Juin's direction, warning him to stay out of his and Yunjin's affairs. That night, Chung Jung went to a bar with friends, trying to calm his hurt feelings. Moments later, Yunjin arrived at the bar, urging him to come home, but instead of listening, Chung Jung tried to make her jealous by hugging another girl in front of her. This only deepened the rift between them, and they ended up parting ways. In the end, Chung Jung left for America at his mother's request. A year passed, but Yunjin couldn't get over Chung Jung. She even visited the temple they once visited together, searching through visitors' wishes. She carefully read paper after paper until she found Chung Jung's handwriting. On his wish, he had written both their names. Overwhelmed by memories and regret, Yunjin broke down in tears. Determined to see Chung Jung, Yunjin traveled to New York to find him. Guided only by a map and help from strangers, she eventually reached a hotel where he was staying. From a distance, she spotted Chung Jung walking toward his car, but as she was about to approach him, she noticed a pregnant woman following him. At that moment, she watched as he helped the woman into the car, and her heart sank. Feeling devastated, Yunjin turned and walked away. So, moral lesson from the story is if someone ruins your day, they might just end up being the love of your life. And remember, a math test score might be low, but love scores high in unexpected places.